Okay, today what I want to go over is just a little bit more precision in, or a little bit more detail of your cylinder making process, and kind of address any particular questions that you guys have. So hopefully this will help. Some of you are running into some of the problems. It's hard to teach you guys all the information that you need to know in one sitting. Sometimes it's better just to kind of let you jump in the deep end, try and pull some cylinders, so that when I talk about this information, it'll make a little bit more sense. Okay? So, okay, now, can you guys see my hands? All right. Okay, now, a lot of you are, getting to this point. Oh, okay, sorry. I do need to show you needle tools. Okay, this is your needle tool. You're going to bring this to your wheel every time now. Okay? Now, for the past couple of classes, I haven't been worried about how thick your floors are. Okay, so when you open up your piece of clay and we leave that floor, you need to have a good thickness there. All right? But there's a balance. You don't want to leave it too thick, because then you're just wasting clay. You're leaving clay behind. All right? So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is to get used to, something around this, like a little bit thicker than 1/4 inch. All right? Anything thicker than that is really, really too thick. You're just going to be leaving too much material behind. When we start making your own cups and bowls, and there is intent into some of your design choices, that floor thickness can change. Okay, but for now, just standard, like 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch is fine. Now, the way that you can double check that is, as you penetrate down through, okay, you can just stick your needle tool in your floor and slide your finger down, okay, and that will help give you a sense of how thick your floor is. I need you guys to be consistent with this. It will help when we start trimming our pots, okay? And it will make so much more sense. So for now, because I might start asking you guys to save some things, and so if you start saving things, you definitely want to incorporate this as part of your process, so that you can have consistent floors all the time. That will help you learn trimming. Okay. All right. The needle tool is also, you'll see other applications later. All right, so also, again, some of you might be like getting to this point and you kind of have a messed up donut or whatever we want to call it, ring. Okay, the way that you can control that is you can keep your hands steady and just kind of compress the material between your hands. All right, and as long as you hold your wrists together, okay, if you just kind of compress it and maintain, a steady, your arms are steady, that will help put the clay back into shape. Now, the best way to do it, and this is going to take you some time to learn how to do, okay, is I'll take my fingers like this, all right, and I kind of create this mold with my fingers, right? So I can have interior pressure and exterior pressure on the side of my pot. All right. The reason why I want to do that is as soon as I open this up, you can't just close it anymore. The properties of the clay won't allow you to remound the clay. Once it's open, you have to keep it open, and now you have to use your fingers to keep things back on center. So what I can do here is if you can, get comfortable with this position, all right? And you can take your other hand with your sponge and just kind of compress downward. All right, it'll force that clay down into your fingers. And if you just compress back from inside and outside a little bit, that will help contain the clay into position. And you can move it in, or you can move it out, and you can move it in. Okay, and you can make all sorts of adjustments. And so one of the adjustments you can make is that if you're like this, okay, you can just kind of grab onto that clay, compress that into your fingers, and wait for it to center up. Okay, this is an introduction to this move. I'm going to have to teach you more about it later. Okay, so just do the best that you can. The other thing I want you to focus on is once you get the diameter of your floor, I want you to start using your fingertip to create a nice, consistent, compressed, level floor. Okay, that is going to help when we start trimming your pots. If it's not level and consistent, it can cause your floors to crack whenever the pot is firing or if it's drying. Okay, so you can go through the whole thing of making a pot and it's perfect and it looks great, but if your floor isn't consistent, it might crack and then we ditch it. Okay, so prevent that. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to create my cylinder, and how do I do that? What's the first step? What's first step? I want to locate my inside finger, right? And how do I do that? With my thumb, right? See? Okay. And then what? What do I need to do next?
Involve the other hand.
Involve the other hand, and how do I support my finger?
The thumb as well.
With my thumb, right? And I usually tuck mine right on that joint right there. And what you guys need to make sure is that you're not involving your other fingers. Okay? You want to use your other fingers to help support your middle finger. Okay, but you only want the tip of your middle finger to be engaged with the material. Okay, and that's on both sides. If you have too much, if you have multiple fingers, then you're not focusing your pressure enough, and you're just going to be smushing clay. You're not going to be precise enough. It's really not going to work. All right, so here I go. I'll find my material, and my hands are together, okay, and then I'll compress that material, right? And then this is the bead that I collect. And I'm just going to continue to pull that up, right? Just like that. And what am I learning here? What type of relationship am I trying to gain as I'm building these cylinders up? There's a relationship between the speed of the wheel and pressure, that is true, but I'm looking for the speed of the wheel
and the speed of the hand.
and the speed of your hands, okay? And what's that analogy that I gave you guys about the little spiral that constitutes the cylinder? Do you guys remember? The slinky? Okay, when my slinky is really tight and compressed, my throw lines are really tight and I have a really straight, strong shape, right? Okay, just a little review. Now you can see I've got all this material down here. Okay, I need to incorporate that into my cylinder. So what I need to do is, before I get too tall, here, can you see that? Yeah. Before I get too tall, what I want to do is just kind of compress that material. All right, and then I'll go down and get some more. And see, all I'm doing is just kind of forcing it up and into the cylinder. And I'm not trying to finish my pool. All right, I'm just kind of compressing it towards the bottom. All right, and I'm incorporating all that material into the bottom of my cylinder. All right, and then once I get most of that material, I can compress it and bring all that up. And there we go. And now I'm beginning to reduce my pressure. Okay. And there we go. Now I have a nice cylinder. All right, now that was 3 pulls, right? You guys are probably taking a lot more pulls. I need to start increasing your pressure. So I might come through on your wheels today and really compress your fingers, and that clay is going to move and you're going to be like, oh, and you might rip and tear through your cylinder. But I'd rather you rip and tear through your cylinder so that you start learning how much pressure you need to apply. Okay? Because some of you last class, you were taking so many pulls that your clay was getting saturated with water and just collapsing, right? The idea is to get to our cylinder as efficiently and as quick as possible so that our clay still has what we refer to as tooth. Okay, if your clay has tooth, that means it's strong enough for you to, pull up and push around and it's really stable. All right? So if you're constantly overworking your material, then it gets really soft and collapses and we can't put it into a shape. All right? So once we get to this point, I'm going to start asking you guys to put form into your pots. Okay? And the way that you do that is if you want to put a form and kind of stretch it out, right? The obvious answer is to push from the inside. Okay? Now, I'm just going to introduce this to you. I'm not going to present a whole lot of information. I need you guys to just get on the wheel and kind of practice with it. But again, you kind of want to compress the material between your fingers and stretch it out. And you want to be consistent with the shape that you're making, with the curve, that vertical profile. You don't want to just try and like stretch it out really wide, really fast. It'll just collapse. So you kind of ease it out. So you're stretching it out over multiple passes. Okay, so just kind of practice and create some, simple forms, right? So you can see I'm using my fingertip and I'm just kind of compressing it from the inside. And I'm balancing that force with my outside fingers, so my fingers are always together. Right? That's what's going to keep everything on center. Okay, and I can just kind of practice making these little shapes. Right? Okay, I'm going to do one more pull, or make one more pass. All right? Nice? Okay, I'm all done. I'm going to take my sponge and I'm going to suck up all that water that's on the inside of my pot, because that can make it collapse when I'm done, when I take it off the wheel. Now, there is another move that I want to show you, but I don't have the tool. Basically, you want to start taking away this excess clay, but I can show that to you later. Oops. Oh man, really? That stinks. Hold on. Oh, it didn't change the shape. Okay, there we go. Alright, yay! Okay, so there's one pot. Right? Keep it simple. Just practice, and don't be afraid to, really push the material. All right, don't be afraid to, really grab it and yank it into position. Okay, you're going to be using force. Okay, so let's do that again. All right, I'm going to take my needle tool and check the thickness of my floor. Okay, and it's a little bit thick. Okay, so what do you think I should do? Push it more. Very good, I'll just push it a little bit more. All right, and if you make them too thin, okay, no big deal. All right, I can show you how to fix that, but later. Okay, there we go, that's pretty good, right? Something like that. Okay, now I want to open up my floor. Notice how fast my wheel speed is, how slow my hands are moving. There we go, that's good enough. All right, and you can see how my floor kind of has all these different levels, right? It's not consistent. So again, I'll take my finger, right as I'm braced with both of my hands here, and I'll just kind of compress that material back and forth. I'll start from the inside, and then I can compress it back. And, maybe some will, shear off. That's not that big of a deal. There we go. Okay, right? So, and you can see I have a little bit of a wobble in there. So I'm going to fix that. All right, I'm going to take my hand. Now, my hands do funny things. I've been doing this for a while. But basically, you just got to try and get inside and outside pressure, or, force, and then use your right hand to kind of compress that material down and in. And as you compress it down, you're going to feel the material push down to the bottom. And depending on how your hand and your finger positions are, you can guide the clay into the shape that you want. So these fingers are going to be moving and allowing material to like enter different places. You'll get used to that. Okay, that'll make more sense when you begin to figure out this move. All right, here we go. All right. And now I'm going to pull up my cylinder. Whoa. See my bat moved. All right. Okay, now I want to incorporate all this material from the bottom. So I'm just going to stay down there. I'm just going to hover. I'm just going to compress that material. Then I'm going to go back down and I'm going to gather some more. All right, I want to gather as much of that material as I can before it gets too tall. Okay, now I'm ready to kind of pull my cylinder. I'll pull that up with opposing forces. And I can keep my rim straight and level because of how tight my throw lines are and how in sync with the wheel I am, right? Some of you might have something that's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay? And that's a natural byproduct of beginning potters, okay? It's going to happen to you. So, what I want you to do is actually, wait, I'll hold off on that. Hold on, let me just form this real quick. Okay, there we go. I'll put a little shape into it. Whoa. I have a hard time not making things straight. Oops. Okay. Okay, so let's pretend that I have a wobbly rim. Every time you guys finish your cylinder or your form, okay, I'm going to ask you guys to use your needle tool, all right, to level off your rim, okay? Make this a consistent shape, all right? And what you do is you hold this needle tool by the grip, all right? See that grip? And you hold it like a pencil, okay? And you want to kind of support your hands here, or I'm sorry, your wrist. I put my elbow down on my leg here. And the other thing I want to do is just kind of support that needle tool with my other hand, again, so that my hands are together as one tool. I'm stable. Okay? And I'm going to use my other middle finger as a target. And I'm just going to slowly slice my way through that material until it hits my thumb. Now I've got a level rim. Alright, this is going to be important for when you guys start trimming feet into your pots. You need to have a level rim. You have to, or else you won't. Because what happens is we let the clay get stiff, we flip them upside down, we center them back on the wheel, and then we trim with these little cutting tools. We'll carve as it spins around a little foot ring in there. And if this isn't centered, or if this isn't level, it won't center properly and it'll be kind of crazy and all over the place. Alright, so you want to get used to that. Okay, so I'm going to pull this water out, and then you can finish off that rim just like that. Ooh, isn't that so nice? Okay. Now I'm trying to make pots because I need to trim these in front of you. And I'll probably trim these maybe next week. Okay? Alright, you want me to do one more? Real quick? Oh man. Okay, one more real quick. Yay. Okay. Okay, one more real quick. Okay. And then I check my floor with my needle tool, and it's perfect. Yay! I'll open this bad boy up. Okay, I'll compress my floor, make sure it's really flat. All right. Just kind of set up my ring here, set it up the way I want it. There we go. Okay, then I'll start pulling up my cylinder as my bat wobbles between my hands. Okay. There we go. I'm just going to gather all that clay. See how I'm gathering all that clay at the bottom? Okay, now I'm going to pick it up. Whoa. All right. Okay, now I'm going to put some shape into it. And I don't care what shape you guys make. I don't care. Just make some. Just get used to it. Just kind of do what feels natural. Keep it symmetrical though. Alright, that's kind of cool, I guess. Alright, then, oh boy, I gotta get all that water out. Whoa. This clay will split on you. It will split. And sometimes you get like little clay goobers in there. You can just kind of pick those out. So if you leave a lot of water on this clay body, it splits. It's a real pain. But anyways, it is what it is. Okay, now I can, if my rim isn't level, I can use my needle tool. Again, I hold it like a pencil. All right, and I'll use my middle finger as a target, and it'll just help support the other side of the rim. And I'll just slowly incise my way through. And voila. Now I have a level rim. When you start throwing consistent cylinders, you won't have to trim your rims, because everything will just be centered and level. Okay, there we go. But until then, use your needle tool. Okay, and there we go. Yay! Okay. Guys think you can handle that today? I can show you a trick. Like if you get to the position where you make a pot. All right, Kyle, check this out. If you make it to this point, all right, then you can take your needle tool and wire tool. Do you have a wire tool with you? Sorry. Yeah, thanks. Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, you can put just a little puddle of water on your wheel head like that, and then you take your wire tool and you scoop that water and drag it underneath the pot. All right, and that will help release the suction, and you can usually just slide it right off. All right, and then you can carry it like that, and you can put it on the table. If you start making pots and I'm like, you need to keep that, one of those little boards over there, you can get a board and then put your pots on that board, so that then you can pick them up without damaging them. Okay? You guys following me? Okay, do you guys have any questions about it? All right, let's do this. Yeah.
I actually left my needle tool